Hey guys! So this is my first vlog. I've never actually done one of these before, so I'm totally winging it right now. But I wanted to try something different. Mostly I felt really bad that I haven't been vlogging consistently at all. So I thought I would try a video because I feel like it might go a little faster than me writing out all my thoughts and wisdom and whatnot. And yeah, I thought it'd be cool to share a video with guys. It might be a little bit more natural, a little more flowy, and like I said, I'm definitely winging it, so we'll see where this goes. So today is Sunday, so I was at church this morning, and one part of the message, our pastor was talking about the kingdom. And whenever somebody says kingdom, it just kind of sparks lots of things in me. When I was at Hillsong College in Australia, we often talked about the kingdom, wisdom. And so when I say the kingdom, I am talking about the spiritual kingdom of God, not like a literal kingdom somewhere that we're all going to. Anyway, so he's talking about the kingdom. And I actually had a really cool thought about serving and volunteering and that kind of thing. So if you have met me in the last 6 months, like since I've been back from Australia, you probably can tell pretty quickly, or I've told you at some point, that I am super passionate about building the kingdom from the perspective of serving and volunteering and actually being involved in the church and building the church and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm super passionate about it. It's something that I think I was secretly passionate about before I went to Australia without really knowing it. And then I went to Australia and got taught about it logically, like what it actually means to serve and to build the kingdom and how to actually like help other people do that and help yourself do that and that kind of thing. And now it's just an outward passion. So hopefully, I hope if you know me that you can see that, and if not, that I've told you at some time or some point. Yeah. So anyway, so he was talking about the kingdom. And I was thinking about, like, often we hear people say, you know, like, I'm gonna build the kingdom of God, or, like, I would even say that, like, if people ask me, like, what do you want to do with your life? I'd be like, yeah, serve in ministry and, like, build the kingdom. But then I was thinking about, okay, but, like, what does that look like when we build the kingdom together, as a community, as individuals together, as the church? And so I actually came up with a few interesting thoughts that I had never thought of before today, but they actually make a lot of sense to me, and I'm hoping that they'll make sense to you as well. This is not a very deep theological vlog. I was gonna say like a message, but it's not really a message. And it's not super spiritual. I'm not gonna throw a lot of Bible verses at you. This is really just my thoughts of the practical side of building something and how it actually applies into our spiritual lives as well, which I think is crazy. So I think the first thing about building the kingdom is it's always better to build with other people. So when you think about somebody building something, obviously this one's very simple. When you think about somebody building something, if they build it by themselves, it's always going to take longer than building something with other people. So whether it's building a literal house or decorating for something, setting up for a wedding, you know, whatever it may be. If one person is doing it, no matter how good they are at it, versus 5 people doing it, the 5 people are always going to get done faster. So that's one reason I think that you should always build the kingdom together. A second thing I was thinking about was talent. So often I think people in churches, they don't necessarily serve or volunteer because they don't think they're talented, or they see someone else who is super talented that already is serving, and they're like, well, they're doing a good job on their own. But that kind of goes back to the first point of no matter how talented or incredibly gifted someone is, if they're doing something by themselves, it's always going to take longer than 5 people doing something together. So even if you have the most talented, you know, Michelangelo painter type person in the world painting your mural, you know, in your church or something like that, this is just an example I'm making up, you know, no matter how talented they are, if they by themselves are doing it versus 5 people that are moderately talented or people that don't even consider themselves talented doing it, it's always going to take longer for the single person. So I think it's really important to realize that talent actually doesn't have as much to do with serving as you think. I definitely think obviously God gives people gifts and talent for sure, and I love it when people can line those up with where they're serving in church. But I definitely don't think people should let that stop them from serving in church if they don't think they're gifted in a certain area, or they don't think they're gifted at all, which is definitely not true. Point is, 5 or more, whatever, more than one person serving and building together is always going to be better than one person serving by themselves. So another thing that I was thinking about building the kingdom together that's really cool is when you build a kingdom together, it's actually generational. So one person building something by themselves, they have a lifespan of, say, like 80 years. So they can build as much as they want in 80 years, but the fact is they're always 100%, that person is, one person will always die at the end. There's no alternative ending. Spoiler, you're all gonna die. But if you're building something with other people, chances are you're multiple ages, you're from multiple generations, and when the person who's in the upper end of the group dies, there's still someone in the lower end of the group that can keep on building, and they're going to add people to that group, and they're going to add people, and so on and so forth. So you see what I'm getting at is there's kind of a stepping up, layering effect, that when you have multiple generations, there's always someone there to step up or keep moving up because you're aging at different rates rather than all at the same one. So obviously in the literal world that makes sense, but in the spiritual world as well, we need multiple generations working together in the church rather than just the oldest generation or the youngest generation or just the middle generation. All of them need to be working together. And besides the fact of their being people at that top end of the age spectrum who won't be there to continue on the work, spoiler, you're all gonna die. There's also this thing of multiple levels of experience. So one person building a kingdom, they only have one kind of experience, one knowledge of how something should be built, as opposed to a group of people at multiple ages, multiple stages in life, multiple levels of experience. They're gonna have so much more expertise on how to build something together, which is pretty cool. So then my last thing that I thought of going off of that, which is pretty cool, is, you know, obviously I just said it would be better to have more than one person building a kingdom together because the work is able to continue on no matter, you know, what age you're at or if you like literally die or spiritually die or whatever it is. Sorry, this is getting like really morbid. Spoiler, you're all gonna die, but that's not the point. While we as humans are limited by our age and by our time frame on earth, when we're building a kingdom together and with God and with the church, there's actually an eternal builder, aka Jesus or God. There's an eternal builder that's always there throughout that whole timeline of whatever it is that's being built, whether it's your church or your community or your serving or volunteering, anything that has to do with the kingdom. So obviously, Jesus is threaded through that whole thing, so no matter how many generations you skip through as you keep going along that timeline, he's always there and he's always constant, which links all of those together. So, in conclusion, I think serving and volunteering is super important. That's my personal passion. But, on top of that, just the little thing that sparked my brain today was, yeah, kingdoms are not meant to be built alone. Kingdoms should be built together. When you build kingdoms together, you know, you have multiple levels of experience, you have multiple talents, you have people to carry on the work forever, and something that's linking you all together as well while you're building that kingdom. So, I hope that was helpful. All my babbling, it was very random. I just definitely winged it. And I hope you enjoyed my first vlog. Thanks for watching.